Thank you everyone for joining. I'm Dan Putman. You might have seen my face on the promotions and whatnot for this. I'm a customer engineer at Salto. That means I get to do all the fun stuff like doing demos, asking technical questions, working with our customers to implement Salto into their release process. So that also means I get to do webinars like this and share some of our new capabilities and best practices with Salto and things like Salesforce. So today we're going to be talking about your release process and specifically how we can do promotions and back promotions with Salto and make your lives just that much easier. We all know it's hard enough working in these large organizations, making changes, keeping everything straight without having to, build these releases without a tool like Salto. So that said, let's dive on in. There we go. So you already know me, introduced myself. So real quick, when we're talking and any of these sessions, these are recorded. We're going to send this out after the fact so that you're going to be able to look at this session, be reminded of what we talked about. We're going to have some surveys, so we'll pop those up along the way. Asking a couple questions helps us to understand exactly who we're serving. And then if you have any questions along the way, I do have one of my colleagues here monitoring the Q&A module. So send them over. They'll be sure to ping me if I don't see it, and we'll get all those questions asked or answered. With that said, we're going to fire off our first poll about how you're using Salesforce and back promotions. I'll give everyone a few minutes to look at this and answer the questions. So when it comes to using Salesforce and how you move between environments, we know there's a bunch of different options. So understanding where people are so we can meet them at that place and help them forward is crucial for us. So to go ahead, I'll dive in here in just a second. Don't worry, we're not going to do the demo until everyone's had a minute to look at the questions, answer the poll. So with that said, talk a little bit about the reason for doing this webinar. When we're doing promotions, when we're managing orgs and trying to make sure that what we build works appropriately in each environment, managing all these conflicts, inconsistencies, changes can really become a pain. It's very easy to make mistakes if you don't have the right tooling. It's very easy to forget which changes are in which place and what was their intent. Should that be there? So, how can we make this easier? Well, number one, we need to have better visibility into which things are in which environments, which tickets, which changes. How can we give a better, streamline that process of moving things? So we moved it up to say out of sandboxes into UAT. How do we then streamline that into production? How can we then back promote that into dev environments or hotfix environments? So that's what we need to do. So by giving better processes, by giving a tool like Salto, can we make the team just function that much better? Better accuracy on changes, better collaboration. Essentially, can we push more through the pipe in an efficient way? So Salto aims to do just that. We're going to show you how the pipeline functionality in Salto can give you that visibility, how it can give you that efficiency that you're looking for as well when you're ready to move changes. So when we're doing those changes, we can actually move multiple things at a time, and we're going to validate them all at the same time so that we know the package we move is going to function. It's not going to collide with itself, multiple deployments that we're trying to move up at once. And then once we get that into production, we're going to show how easy it is to get it back into lower environments as well. So having a look at the poll here before we move forward, looks like my favorite answer to the question, back promotions, what are those? We all know it is tough to remember to do them. So Looks like we got some Git users, FSDX users. Great, we got a good mix here. So thank you so much for answering those questions. That gives me a good sense of how you're using it today. And yeah, if you have any additional questions as I go through the demo here, please ask them, and I will stop and get them answered. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and dive into this. So let's show off Salto. I'll back out of this and come over to my Salto tab here. Now, a little background on Salto. I've already gone ahead and connected a bunch of orgs here on the left-hand side. We call them environments when we connect to one of your orgs, be it sandbox or production. I've built a pipeline, my Salesforce pipeline, you'll see here, that shows the direction of changes and how these orgs are interconnected. I can, mix and match these connections for Salto. The comparison between these orgs is purely logical. So even if I have multiple production orgs, I could slot those right in here into my pipeline as well. It's really whatever makes sense for your company, for your customers and your teams. These are super flexible to make that pipeline look the way it needs to for you. So beyond that, to speed things up here, I've already gone and done a couple of changes. I've pushed them into UAT, so out of Dev 1 and out of Dev 2. So I've got 2 developer sandboxes there that I was making changes in. I've pushed a couple of things into UAT here. You'll notice earlier, because I wanted to show this functionality, I made 2 changes down here. I've already promoted those into production, as we can see as highlighted here in my flow. And then it's been back promoted into hotfix. So not only am I going to show you, how easy it is to do these things, but the visualization after the fact of understanding where something is, where it's lived, where it's been promoted to, all shows up here in this pipeline view. So for today, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to promote these 2 tickets. So I had one coming out of Dev 1 and one coming out of Dev 2. They're now in UAT, as I can see here. And just to make it a little clearer, I'm going to get rid of some of the noise. You see, I've got a deployment here called alignment, which was a back promotion from earlier when I was aligning my environments to prepare for this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and filter that out. Oops, excuse me. So we're going to filter that out. And now I'm only looking at tickets, at deployments that have a biz app ticket ID on them. So that helps me to narrow in on the things that I have a proper ticket. And I'm going to go ahead and send over this op query in lead query deployments. So these are changes. I'll show you one of them right here. Actually, I'll show you a lead query. This deployment within Salto that I did earlier is a change to an Apex class and a brand new field, a custom field on the lead object. So you can see here, I've made that field change, and then I've added it into the content of one of my queries here. So I'm adding DP notes as a field I want to pull out in a query. So that's been pushed up into QA. Now I'd like to take both of these things. The op query as well is an update on that same Apex class, but in a different query, a different method. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to ask Salto to promote these. See, my target is going to be production. So that auto populates there. And then I'm going to create the deployment. And what Salto does is we're going to combine these deployments out of QA. Now this may be 2 deployments, it might be 5 deployments. We're going to do the same thing. Based on the set of changes within these deployments, we're going to merge them together. We're going to validate them all at once so that we can be confident that what we're pushing up into production is going to function as appropriate. Now, I don't have any tests on this Apex class. That's on purpose. I don't want to run my full suite, so we're keeping it nice and simple. But if I needed to run a validate against this deployment, if I wanted to run all of my tests as a part of this deployment, we can run those as well from right inside this pipeline. So can set that up and have it run. But we're going to keep it simple for our for time purposes here. You'll notice now that I have both changes within this customer engineering Apex. It's merged both my lead query, where I'm adding DP notes, as well as it's adding the close date field onto my opportunity query. And it's going to deploy the DP notes field as well, because it's required and it's a part of my previous set of changes. So now if I hit deploy and go ahead and finish this off, Salto will ask me, am I sure? I am sure. So let's go ahead and let this promote up into production. And then after this is done, we will see that my pipeline will update. And I actually have a draft. You can see here now, if I was on the screen as someone was doing the deployment, we can see that we're promoting these deployments up into production. So as that's going, I will get notified of the completion here in just a moment. And if at any point in time I want to go see the status or check on anything, I can always click back. So everything here is interconnected. So it looks like, yep, we have finished this. Let's go back and check that UI. So here we're going, just haven't gotten an update quite yet. We can blame that on my internet today. Been a little slow, of course, on webinar days. There we go. And now I see that in production, my latest deployment going to from UAT into production. You can see my previous one that I was testing earlier. Again, that deployment is complete. I have a record I can come back to of what I promoted. And then the pipeline, we notice the difference here is that one of them has been back promoted to hotfix and the other hasn't. Well, how would I get these changes, these new changes back into hotfix or even into other lower environments, right? Hotfix environment is important to keep as close to production as possible. So we want to make sure that it is aligned with any deployments going into production. Well, I can select what I just sent, hit back promote. Salto will let me choose whether I want to go back to hotfix or maybe back to, another sandbox environment, another UAT environment. And then I will go ahead and say, I'm going to back promoting 2 deployments. I'll hit create. Now Salto's going to do exactly the same thing that we did when we were pushing up to production, except now back to hotfix. It's going to revalidate both of these deployments, make sure we don't have any collisions with this environment. As you can imagine in the hotfix org, I might have changes that are ongoing. Someone was working on a ticket, they want to push to production. I would hate to collide with that and blow it away. So Salto's going to check for these things. Case in point, here I have a conflict with what is in my hotfix. So intentional, so we can show this off. And I get a nice view here showing me that there is a small change. So I'm going to go ahead and take that conflict. Look like a spacing issue, but if someone's working on one thing, actually it was my DP notes. So if someone was making a change to this at the same time I was doing DP notes, so we detected that. So it just wants to be absolutely sure that if 2 people are touching the same line, that we make sure we get human eyes on that so I can check it, resolve it, and make sure it's a smooth back deploy. So we're going to let this process now that I've applied my conflict resolution. I'm good to go. Great. So let's push this back to my hotfix. And I'll also see the pipeline update after this. While this is going, I do want to call out that this pipeline's functionality is something that is currently in our early access phase. So you're more than welcome to trial this, to test it out. But it is something we will need to turn on for you, at least for the next couple of weeks. So if you wish to see this functionality, please let us know. We're happy to run a trial, proof of concept with you. get you in contact with the right people, and flip it on. So we can now see that we are syncing, the deployment is done, everything should be in place. And I can see now that I have indeed back promoted both of those production deploys that I had done earlier. And so with that, we see just how easy it is to move from, our dev environments to UAT, to production, and back to hotfix, even when we have potential conflicts, between these environments. Salto's going to give us visibility so that we can resolve those issues and make sure our environments are not only aligned, but that we haven't blown away any work in progress while we're at it. So I'm going to take a little breather. I've been talking for about 15 minutes, giving you the good stuff. I'm going to hold for any questions in our Q&A channel. Let's see if this is clear or not. Great. Doesn't look like there's any questions right now. So while people are thinking about any questions that do pop up, let's go ahead and mention that if you wanted to do this, I know I said it was an early access, but we could turn this on for you today. All of these customers here are using Salto in one form or another to do deployments, to do backup and restoration. And some of them are starting to use this pipeline functionality already. So if you're interested, you can reach out to us and get connected. I'm going to show you those links here in just a moment. Remember, to recap what we've done today, these pipelines here to give you visibility into your deployments, your promotions. Where is the work in your system? That's the goal of the pipelines, show you where it is and help you get it to the spots it needs to be in. When we're validating, whether it's a back deploy, whether it's a promotion forward, we're going to check everything as one deployment, run the tests against it, do the Salesforce validation, check dependencies. So you can be confident it's going to work when it promotes. And lastly, back promotions, it's hard to get any simpler than it is in Salto. So we give you that simple process, that structured process, again, so you can make sure that your lower environments are aligned so that when you push up to upper environments, what you built, what you tested is going to function appropriately. And with that, we do have one last little exit poll we're going to throw up. So if you could please fill that out, we would love it. Give us a little feedback on how we're doing with our webinars and our platform. And if you want to stay in touch, you can see here there's a couple ways to get to us. You've got our website, salto.io. You can always ask for an additional demo there. You can sign up for a trial there. You can go through all of our additional adapters, as well as our public pricing. So salto.io has got it all if you need any of that. You'll see on LinkedIn, you got our LinkedIn ID there, or our Twitter/X, depending on what you want to call it, ID. So please check us out in one of these locations. And then beyond that, please stick around. We'll be here for a few minutes. If you have any questions, if you want to get a hold of us for that demo, please don't be afraid to sign up on our website and reach out. Get someone like me to take you through anything you like within the Salto platform. And please have a great day. If you're in the US, have some great holidays next week, and hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.